Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech It Out, episode 89. We have a great show planned for you on this last episode of March. In a moment from now, we'll learn about tax scams from the IRS, or those who claim they're from the IRS. We'll talk with Microsoft about how to avoid those scams. On a related note, also on the program today, nCipher will join us to talk about protecting businesses from malicious types out there. The company claims 1 in 5 Americans have been a victim of a cyber attack. Also this hour, Dyson stops by to chat about new products they've got in the home, including a pair of new high-tech vacuum cleaners, a water purifier, and smart lighting. And we'll end off on a lighter note with a brand new baseball video game, MLB The Show 19, which swung into stores on Tuesday. All of this is coming up on Tech It Out. You might not know it, but as tax season approaches, cybersecurity watchdogs always see a rise in online scams and other cyber threats this time of year. In fact, Microsoft saw an average of 300,000 daily phishing attempts in the month of February alone across its browser platforms. Phishing, of course, refers to the bad guys masquerading as a legitimate place that you trust, like a bank or an online store. And usually via email or a text message, they ask you to verify your info. It takes you to a phony website, and that's where they got you. You know, you give away stuff that you shouldn't. Joining us from Microsoft to talk about staying safe leading up to tax season and beyond, we've got Holly Stewart on the line. She's the Principal Research Manager at Microsoft. Welcome, Holly. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark.
Before we talk solutions, let's go over the problem in a little bit more depth. Microsoft and others do see a rise in cyber threats this time of year, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And phishing especially has been on the rise for some time, and tax season gives another great lure to trick people into giving their details to someone that shouldn't have it.
And it really could look legitimate. I mean, even a tech-savvy person may be duped by getting an authentic-looking email that looks like it's from your bank or from PayPal or from your favorite online store, when in fact it's, as I said earlier in my introduction, like masqueraded to be the real deal when it's in fact some fraudulent activity on the back end.
Absolutely. And one of the tricks that we've been seeing recently is these attackers are masquerading as a tax revenue service. This is happening in the United States and happening to our neighbors to the north in Canada, Brazil, and as far away as India. They are trying to pretend like you've got a refund, but they need your banking credentials, and so they give you a fake website to try to trick you into logging in.
Thanks for reminding me that, yeah, we are talking about tax season, and this is a common IRS email that goes around, or a text message, or in Canada, it's called Revenue Canada. So yes, you're absolutely right. So this is collectively known as a phishing scam. People are being fooled into giving out their credentials. So I know that Microsoft security experts expect these scams to grow more prevalent until tax day, especially in the last 2 weeks before the April 15th deadline, where about a quarter of the people file their taxes. So this is going to get worse before it gets better, right?
We would expect that to happen. As more people are filing their taxes, these scams will likely pick up so that they can take advantage of what's top of mind for folks these days.
Yeah, again, because of the timeliness of it, even tech-savvy people, smart people, they may be, it may look legit and they may be fooled. But I guess the rule of thumb here is, before, I know we're going to talk about some other solutions in a moment, but obviously you're not going to be contacted like this by the IRS or what have you, correct?
That's right. And even if you do get an email that makes you think that, for example, they're trying to get your bank details to deposit your refund, go back through your tax program, use the direct links to the IRS, go through the trusted methods that you know to provide your information. And that's one of the main tips that we provide to folks is when you get an email that seems suspicious, maybe it looks a lot like your bank, but type in your bank's web address through your browser. You don't go through that link because it may not be legitimate.
I also heard a tip that you should always use your bank's app instead of a web browser as well, because then you know it's really from the bank.
Yeah, that's even more secure because they often use two-factor authentication, which means, you're not just using your password, but you may use your fingerprint or some other means of identification. And that's a much more secure way of getting into your bank account.
Yeah, great tip. We're chatting with Holly Stewart. She's the Principal Research Manager at Microsoft. We're talking about the rise of scams and other cyber threats leading up to tax time. I wanted to ask you about the 36-page Microsoft Security Intelligence report that was just published. That's a pretty in-depth document that I skimmed through. So this covers many things, including phishing scams.
Yes, that report contains a lot of research that we do once every 6 months and looks at the major trends in attacks that we see. Phishing is one of the main trends, which is appropriate since we're talking about it related to tax season. There's some good news in there as well. So you may have heard of ransomware. Ransomware is a malicious application that tries to trick you into it may hijack all of your documents, or it may make you think that your computer has been hijacked and then tries to get you to pay a fee to release those documents back to you or unhijack your computer. Some good news here. Ransomware attacks have been on the decline and have continued to go on the decline. Phishing is still going up. One trend that we see attackers shifting to is called cryptocurrency mining. A lot of the ways that an attacker would install this malicious software it's similar to phishing. They may try to trick you into clicking a link or opening an attachment that they've sent you over email. The tricky thing about this one is cryptocurrency happens in the background. It uses the resources on your computer to mine cryptocurrency and pay the attackers, so you may not know it's happening.
Yeah, that's a great point. So they're leveraging your computer's horsepower to help generate coins or other cryptocurrencies, unbeknownst to the victim often. So is that so bad, or is this like, are you going to see, is the damage maybe on your utility bill, your electric bill is going to be much higher? Or
well, it's bad because your computer may slow down and you may think that there's something wrong and maybe you try to fix it, but actually it's just this cryptocurrency miner taking up all of the resources. The other scary thing that you need to think about is that if they have access to your computer, well, they can install something else later. Mm-hmm. So you really don't want anything that you haven't installed on your computer.
Yes, of course. All right, Holly, let's go over a couple of those solutions again and perhaps some new ones. Some of it lies in common sense. I mean, I know there's software we'll get to in a moment, but things like just we touched on this earlier, just knowing that the tax department isn't going to reach out to you to verify your banking details and other common sense tips. So let's go over them all. Where would you like to start?
Sure. Well, I'd say, we talked about not just relying on passwords alone and two-factor authentication. So whenever possible, try to use two-factor authentication.
Holly, let's clarify what that is. So that's when you not only need your password to log into, but you also need a second code that's often sent to your mobile device to confirm it's really you. So it's a combination of something which is your password, with something you have, which is your smartphone. That's mostly what 2FA or two-factor authentication is, correct?
Absolutely, yes. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, sure. And then you also brought up a good point earlier. Use biometric security, like your fingerprint, to confirm it's really you as well, if that's an option on some of that online activity.
Yep, that's an easy way to do it.
All right, so let's talk about some other options here.
So when you get an email that seems a little suspicious, be wary. If there's a URL inside that email, hover over it to see where it actually goes. If it's an email trying to get you to log into your bank, use your app instead of logging in directly by clicking a link in that email. Be wary of attachments. So we've seen many of these phishing attempts. They attach a document that looks like it's from the tax agency. And even within that document, it might have a URL telling you to log into your bank account. So it can happen that way too. And then, of course, make sure you're running a security product on your home PC or your laptop or whatever it may be, and make sure that you keep every software up to date.
All right, great advice, Holly. Yes, definitely. You want to use cybersecurity software. It's built into Windows as well. And also keep your programs up to date and even your hardware software up to date. It's often called firmware. So your router, your computer printer, they all have software too that can be updated that, often the people who make these devices, they find vulnerabilities and they can patch it up. So I also recommend keeping everything up to date from a software perspective. Is there a website where we can learn more, Holly?
Yes, actually, we have a blog post on the Microsoft Secure website.
Holly Stewart, I really appreciate your time and your insight, your expertise. I really appreciate it.
Mark, thanks for having me.
Before we continue on with the show, Tech It Out is powered by ASUS. Thank you for your support. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. We'll be right back.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Tech It Out. All right, we're here at this really cool Dyson event in downtown Toronto. I'm here with Josh Mutlow, who's traveled all the way from the UK. He's an engineer from Dyson, is that right?
That's correct. So I'm a senior design engineer in our floor care category. And it's really exciting to be here today to talk to you about some of our latest technology.
Awesome. I suddenly feel very dumb. But please help walk us through, and my listeners, the 4 different products that were unveiled here today at this event that are maybe coming to a Dyson store near you or another electronics place. But there's a lot of cool innovation here for the home. So why don't we start with air filters and what's new there? Okay,
yes. So one of the new products we're launching here today is the Dyson Pure Cool Me, which is our latest purifying technology fan. What's really fantastic about this is that what we think is really important is paying attention to the environment in which you spend a lot of your time. Lots of people nowadays spend a huge amount of time in their own home, or maybe they're at work and they're in an office. And we think it's really important that people consider the quality of the air in those environments they spend lots of time. So the Dyson Pure Cool Me allows our consumers to have a personal purifier where they can control the air quality in that environment.
All right, so since this is radio, let's maybe describe this. It's a small unit that you may have on your desk in a home office, for example, or maybe a night table in your bedroom. And it's like your own personal fan, as you said, but it doesn't just circulate poor quality air that may be in your room, but it actually purifies it first.
Yeah, that's correct. So we have a base on the machine. This base is surrounded by a huge number of small inlet holes. And what we do there is we take in dirty air from the room that you're in. There's a filter behind those inlet holes. We purify the air, and then we have a motor that propels that air towards you out the top of the product. And what's really neat there is there's a screen on the product as well, and that screen allows you to control the product, change the fan speed, things like that.
And of course, it's Dyson, so it looks really cool, and it works well. So definitely, I would Google the name again for our listeners who are interested in that, and that would be?
Dyson Pure Cool Me.
Pure Cool Me. How could you forget that? All right, now let's move from air quality to lighting. A lot of people, and myself included, didn't know that Dyson had their hands in lighting as well.
Yeah, that's correct. So James Dyson's son, actually began working on lighting products about 10 years ago. And recently that technology has migrated into the broader Dyson business. And it's really exciting because today we're announcing our Dyson Light Cycle Task and Floor Light. And again, this is a really exciting product for us because feeding off that message of well-being, people don't really pay a lot of attention to the quality of the light in the environments in which they spend lots of time. If we were to consider the history of our evolution, the majority of that has happened under the effects of sunlight. So we wake up when the sun rises, we go to bed when the sun sets. And the introduction of artificial light in the environments in which we spend lots of time has started to mess around with the light we're exposed to, basically. And so what's really great with the new task light and floor light is that we can replicate the sunrise, sunset, temperature of the light as you go through your day.
Okay, so it can mimic what's going on outside, even though you're maybe in your office. It can have some like nice warm yellow hues, and then go to a little bit of a whiter light, maybe when it would be like that outside, just to mimic what we've been used to throughout evolution. That's the idea, and you can control it with an app, from what I understand, not just on the lamp itself.
Yeah, that's correct. So what we can do with the application is we can input some parameters about ourselves, our age, our location, and then we use that information to affect the light that we give you at different times of day. So as you said, in the morning we'll give you warmer lights to represent things more like sunrise and or in the evening, sunset. And
not just different times of day, but different ages as well. I learned today that people who are 60 years old need 4 times as much light as as younger folks, which is really interesting. I didn't know that. So, Josh, now let's wrap up on vacuum. So I know this is a tech show, so I was immediately interested in the 360. So this is a robotic vacuum cleaner. What was unveiled today, a new version of this?
Yeah, that's correct. So today we unveiled the Dyson 360 iHearist, and this is a really exciting product for us because it's building on the success of our robotic and machine learning technologies. What's really fantastic about this machine is that it has twice the suction of any other robotic vacuum cleaner.
But I understand there's a lot more smarts, stronger suctioning, as you mentioned, and you can control it with an app as well. And Alexa supports. You can use your voice to start and stop it. And also, you can program different intensities, right? Like if you have more dirt in one room, like a hallway, than you do, say, a family room, then you can also set it by zone.
Yeah, that's correct. So, with the application, you can modify the performance of the machine based on different areas of your house. The other fantastic thing is that with our latest version of this robot, we can update the software over the air. And so as we progress with the development of the machine, we can release new and exciting features to you.
Okay, and Josh, let's wrap up on the upright, the V11.
Yeah, that's correct. So another one of our really exciting products is the Dyson V11. And what we've done here is been able to introduce a huge amount of intelligence to our cord-free vacuum cleaner range. And we can now identify what surfaces you're using the vacuum cleaner on. And that allows us to adjust the suction power to suit the task that you need to do.
So, for example, a carpet would require a little bit more horsepower than a hardwood floor or tile.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So if you were to move onto a carpeted surface, we can ramp up the suction power to deep clean. If you go back onto a hard surface, we can drop that suction power to suit the surface and give you extended runtime because of that.
Awesome. Thanks for that torque drive. And I love that little LCD screen on the top as well, color-coded and everything. Very neat stuff. Josh, thanks so much for your time. Safe travels back over the pond, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. It's been really fun to talk you through all our latest technology.
When we return on Tech It Out, we'll chat with nCipher to continue our thread about cybersecurity that we started with Microsoft. Again, I just want to thank ASUS, the title sponsor on Tech It Out, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including award-winning laptops and desktops and gaming rigs, smartphones and tablets, smartwatches, and a lot more. Check out asus.com/US/radio for more info. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to the program. Did you know about 1 in 5 Americans have been a victim of a cyber attack? And that's among those who knew they were a victim. This is the finding of nCipher. It's a company that encrypts data for businesses around the world. Joining us on the line to share more, including a look at what nCipher calls security fatigue, we've got on the line Kevin McKeough. He is the Director of Product Management at nCipher. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Mark. Glad to be here.
Great. So talk to us about nCipher. It's spelled the letter N and then capital CIPHER. What's the company all about?
nCipher is about providing security equipment to enterprises to ensure that they can protect data. They need to encrypt data. They can also ensure that communications are secure and that people can be sure that the right people are talking to the right people securely.
Okay, so nCipher protects a company's data from unwanted access, of course. So when you say encrypt, that's like adding like layers of security to the files. And it also, does it look for things like viruses or anything like that? Or is it like a firewall? Maybe you can elaborate on the software part.
The HSM really is a way to protect the mechanism by which you do the encryption. So encryption is really about obfuscating data, turning it into something that's completely unreadable. So it doesn't look like the original data. So you cannot tell, if you're encrypting a document, you would no longer be able to understand what that document was. And to be able to encrypt data, you need a certain start point, a cryptographic key. And you need to be able to protect that, because if anybody, it's really like the keys to your front door. If everybody has access to your key, they can get in your front door. If everyone has access to an encryption key, then they can decrypt the data and they can see what the original message was. So the important aspect is to ensure that the keys are held securely and only ever used in a protected space that nobody can gain access to.
Got it. And I'm going to ask you in a moment to elaborate a bit more on your technology. But as I mentioned off the top, Kevin, nCipher discovered that 20% of Americans, or 1 in 5, suffer from what you call security fatigue, and we don't trust anyone to protect our personal data. Can you explain this a bit more?
Yes. Well, security fatigue is really more about us getting a bit fed up with all of the security hurdles that we have to jump to use our information online. So if you're trying to do online shopping, there's many different steps we have to go through. We have so many passwords for different access to different applications and different websites, and it becomes very difficult to manage. So the fatigue really is that people start to work around these. We have 100 passwords and we set them all to be the same thing because we can't remember 100 different passwords.
Yeah.
So we end up making ourselves less secure and more liable to have our identity taken from us.
Are you a fan of biometrics identification or authentication, where you use a part of your body to confirm it's you, like a fingerprint or a retina scan or something?
Yes, I think we have to make security easier for people to use, and biometrics is something that you obviously tend to have your fingers with you at most times, and you don't have to remember those, whereas you have to remember passwords. So I think biometrics is very much something that is a good solution to help you be identified by whatever it is that needs to identify you. I think it's always important, though, that where that information is stored, the item that is checking that your biometrics are correct, the data they have about you needs to be held securely. Otherwise, somebody could change that data or steal that data, and then they can impersonate you. So it's the mechanisms for identifying yourself have to improve, but also it still remains important to actually secure the data at the other end.
Are you a fan, Kevin, of two-step or two-factor authentication, where not only do you need a password to access your information, whether it's your own company's data or if you're doing online banking or online shopping, but you also need a one-time key or code sent to usually like your mobile device that you need to verify that it's you. So it's something that you know, which is a password, combined with something that you have, which is usually a smartphone. Do you like 2FA?
Yes, I think two-factor authentication is very important. When we're trying to defend ourselves against the threats out there in the marketplace, then we need to be able to make it difficult for them to pretend to be us, to steal our identities. And as you say, two things: one thing that you know, one thing you have in your possession that will be difficult for other people to have. So they might be able to guess your password, but if they haven't got that one-time password that you've just been sent to your phone, then they can't pretend to be you. So yes, the more factors involved in authenticating you, the better. But as I said earlier, people get fatigued by these things. There's so many steps to go through, so they tend to avoid doing them. And we need to make the online security easy to use.
We're chatting with Kevin McKeough. He is Director of Product Management at nCipher. With that in mind, then, how does nCipher make cybersecurity easy to use so people aren't opposed to using it? What's your secret sauce then?
Well, I think our secret sauce is really about helping the enterprise, helping the companies build solutions that can offer the capabilities to provide secure authentication to these sites. So the nCipher hardware, the nCipher software provides capabilities for enterprises to build strong solutions that provide both ease of access but secure access.
Can you elaborate on the hardware element up to this? I mean, software I get, it's encryption and maybe some other firewall-related software, but what's the hardware component?
Well, the hardware really provides a secure place for the processing to be carried out. So the software running on a server, on your computer, if an adversary, an attacker, gets into the network, then they can actually watch the processing going on the server on your computer and see what's happening. They can change results, or they can steal the data. So therefore, having a hardware security module moves the processing away from the easy accessible server and computer into an environment where an attacker cannot gain access to. It's a separate piece of hardware that you would put in the rack in your data center, or actually a module that you put inside the server that's a separate physical device.
Okay, got it. All right, Kevin, so where could our listeners who may run a small business or medium-sized organization or even enterprise level, where could they learn more about nCipher and the solutions you provide?
So certainly going to our website, www.ncipher.com.
Okay, again, that's spelled N and then CIPHER.com. Kevin, thank you very much for your time. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you very much, and all the best.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Check it out. Hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Before our next guest, we do have time for a mailbag segment. And you too can shoot me a question at my website, marksaltzman.com. That's MarkSaltzman. So George asks, is it safe to do internet banking when using a public hotspot? Whether it's your local coffee shop, in an airport, or a hotel lobby, millions of mobile computer users do take advantage of free public Wi-Fi networks, aka hotspots, but don't use it for financial transactions, as there could be cyber criminals digitally eavesdropping in on your activities. We just spoke with Microsoft and nCipher this hour about that. Using a free hotspot is okay for things like reading the news, but resist entering sensitive information like your banking passwords. If you must do online banking and you're using free Wi-Fi, at least use VPN software, virtual private network software. It can be free like Hotspot Shield or BetterNet, and that will protect your identity. Or better yet, wait until you're at home on a safe Wi-Fi network, or use your cellular connection, which is also safer than public Wi-Fi. All right, on with the show. Baseball season is here, and with that comes a new MLB The Show video game. And if my time with the new game is any indication, this year's MLB The Show 19 is the best yet. Joining us to chat about this PlayStation 4 exclusive is Ramone Russell. He's the community manager and game designer for MLB The Show at Sony Interactive Entertainment's San Diego studios. All right, Ramone, thanks so much for your time. I'd love to learn more about MLB The Show 19. How you doing, first of all?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
Awesome. Okay. So let's dive right in. This is, of course, the next iteration in the best-selling pro baseball game. So tell us about it.
Oh, man. MLB The Show 19, we've spent a lot of time working on every area of the game and also creating new experiences and new creative, curated experiences. We have 2 brand new game modes this year. The first one is called Moments. And what Moments is, it's relive, rewrite, recreate baseball's most iconic moments? Like, can you hit Bryce Harper's first home run? Can you recreate that epic Toronto Blue Jays playoff moment with that Jose Bautista bat flip? Like, those moments are in the game. We have storyline moments where you'll take a look at Babe Ruth's career, and it'll be all these little pieces of gameplay that are really, really important and really specific to Babe Ruth. We might have King Griffey Jr. and King Griffey Sr. back-to-back home runs. So that's what all moments is about, is these short experiences that could be an inning, it could be a game, could be in a series, it could be an at-bat. And moments is all about trying to recreate baseball history or trying to rewrite baseball history. So that's the first new game mode. The second new game mode is called March to October. So every single year, we're always trying to figure out, like, what are the type of experiences that people want from season-based modes. Baseball's had a long season, 162 games. It can take a long time to get to the postseason. And what we found through our research is a vast majority of users never even make it to the end of the season. So when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do, we also learned baseball is very regional, it's very team specific. You care about your team. If your team's out of playoff contention, people tend to not pay as much attention. So at March to October, what we're doing is we're putting you in these very curated, very specific key moments throughout the season to try to get your team to the playoffs. And it's all about this narrative and this curated experience that's very specific to your team. If you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan, they're in the long shots category. All 30 of the MLB teams, they're in a separate category. You have the contenders, you have the long shots. You have the teams that you think are going to do well and the teams that you think might not do as well. And so your journey starts with this intro video. And the things that Heidi Watney, our new broadcast member, is going to say, the type of stories that she's going to present, are heavily influenced by how you perform and what the expectations were. And this is very dynamic because if, let's say, you chose the Yankees are a favorite. They're favorited to go to the playoffs and possibly win a World Series. The things that Heidi Watney would say about the Yankees is going to be completely different than what she would say about the Padres or the Blue Jays that might not be a contender just yet. But we're putting the control in your hands and you're able to change that narrative. And the way that it works is, people don't like the sim games because they're not in control. Like, they want to be in control. So every single moment that we put you in March to October affects this momentum factor. If you win a game, you'll get momentum, and that'll affect what happens in between the sim games. If you lose a game, you'll get cold momentum, and you may go on a losing streak. Road to the Show, our most played mode. We spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah, tell us about it, because this is not the first year that Road to the Show has been in the game, but I understand there's some differences this year.
Oh, absolutely. So we listen to a lot of community feedback because we're always trying to give people more of what they want and less of what they don't want. And last year we introduced the archetype system, and what we found out was people they liked the idea of the archetypes, but they didn't like the fact that they couldn't make a 99 overall player because we capped it. Well, we listened to feedback and we took those caps off. However, there's this new dynamic where to get your guy to 99, it's very, very difficult. All of your player has, attributes that are easier to train based off his archetype and attributes that are harder to train.
And let's clarify that in this mode, you actually create a baseball player from scratch. You're not taking already an MLB superstar. This is your own. It's almost like a role-playing game, RPG kind of feel.
Road to the Show is 100% a baseball RPG. You're creating either yourself or some fantasy persona that you want to live out.
And what kind of customization options are there aesthetically?
Oh, there's a lot. We have over 25 different hairstyles. We have tons of different facial hair. We have skin tones. You can create your own batting stance. We have body scale sliders if you want your guy to have a longer spine or if you want him to have broader shoulders. We have lots of different equipment options in the game. So Road to the Show really lets you design a type of character that you want to be.
All right, we're going to continue our chat about MLB The Show with Ramone Russell from Sony San Diego. So stick with us. A lot more Tech It Out is coming up.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
It's baseball season, and that includes the video game version of America's favorite pastime as well. Let's continue our chat with Ramone Russell, game designer and community specialist at Sony's San Diego studios. We're getting a walkthrough of the new PlayStation 4 game MLB The Show 19. All right, so like any good baseball game, there are several solo and multiplayer modes, and you've explained some of the solo ones that have a lot of meat to them, a lot of depth for those who want that kind of gameplay experience. But if you are interested in playing against other human players, not beside you on the same couch, because I know you can do that, what are some of the multiplayer online options in this year's game?
Right, so there's Play Now, where you can use any real MLB team to play against somebody online. And then there's, Diamond Dynasty, our competitive game mode, which we found is people really love Diamond Dynasty. They love being able to discover cards. And what you're basically doing is you're creating this fantasy team, and you're trying to create the best team possible. So our live content team, which consists of Stephen Haas and Luis Martinez and Kyle Blake, we spent a lot of time this year on doing these quality of life things in Diamond Dynasty, just to make the experience easier, funner, more accessible, more dynamic. For instance, you have multiple lineups. People wanted multiple lineups. We've given people multiple lineups. Those crazy grinds are gone where you had to get 400 saves with this guy. You don't have to do that anymore. You play the game, you get XP, you unlock stuff. If you get a card, you can immediately put them into your lineup, or you can immediately put them onto the marketplace. All of our programs are a lot shorter. Like we've really tried to focus on letting people play the game the way that they want to play, and giving you tons of opportunities and avenues to get the rewards in Diamond Dynasty that you want.
All right, finally, this is a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Talk to us about the visuals and other production values. No doubt this is a 4K game for those TVs that support it, right? 4 times the resolution of HD. Tell us about the animation, the visuals, and you did touch on the commentary or any other audio-based benefits this year.
Right, so if you have a PS4 Pro, there are a few different options that you have. You can choose faster, where the game runs a little bit smoother. You can choose like high fidelity, where you're looking at like the game just looks gorgeous.
You'll do a double take. You'll think it's a real game, right?
Hopefully people will do a double take. But gameplay, like we've added over 1,300 new gameplay animations, and every single year we're trying to figure out where we were strong, and we'll add some more stuff to that. And then we'll also look at the areas of the game where we may have been weak, like catching. Catching wasn't quite where we wanted it to be. You can have the fastest throws in the world, but if your catches are slow, doesn't really matter. So this year we spent a lot of time on adding hundreds of new pre-pitch catches, hundreds of new catches to make sure we have all of those holes filled, and to make sure not only do you see really good infield play and really good outfield play, but if it's the inverse where you don't have a good outfield or you don't have a good infield, that will play out and that will bear itself to market as well. Like we really want the game to basically, if you see Andrelton Simmons out at shortstop, the guy's a wizard, you want him to be a wizard in game, because we want the game to play like it does in real life.
Authentically recreated stadiums and crowds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like our stadium team spends a lot of time on all of our stadiums. This year we worked on our light to dust transitions. They're now more lifelike. We've also added Heidi Watley into the game. She's our first on-field reporter in the show series, and you'll see her in all modes of the game. And she shows up at these really important times to give you these curated narratives about your team, and you'll see her a lot in March to October.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Ramone. So the game is MLB The Show 19, exclusively for PS4 and PS4 Pro, of course. Where can we learn more about it? Is it PlayStation.com?
Absolutely. Check out PlayStation.com. You can check out the PlayStation blog, or you can check out MLB The Show on Twitter, where you can get basically all of the updates for the game and what's new, what's fresh, and all of our content updates as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time. Amazing.
Oh, thank you.
As you can probably hear, I met with Ramone Russell at an MLB The Show 19 preview, a media day, where journalists like yours truly were invited to get some hands-on time with the game and chat with Ramone about all of the new features of the game. And you really got to see it. I know this is radio, but you got to see what the graphics look like. So go to YouTube and type in MLB The Show 19 and take a look at the trailer for the game. Or better yet, get your hands on the actual game and you'll do a double take. You really will think it's the real deal. It's getting really photorealistic, in part due to the processing power of the PlayStation 4. Hey, as we wrap up today's Tech It Out, I do want to thank my sponsor one last time. Tech It Out is brought to you by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. ASUS, for those in search of incredible. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info on all of their innovative products. That's asus.com/US/radio. Hey, I've been prepping next weekend's radio show already, the first Tech It Out of April. I think you're really going to like it. So I look forward to chatting with you then on Tech It Out. Thanks for listening, and tell your friends to subscribe to the podcast as well at iTunes, Google, and other platforms. Ciao for now, everyone. Talk to you next weekend. All the best.